Puerto Rican kid, bald head, loves snakes, loves Blizzy, Sergio Chacon.
Yeah. What up, Pa?
Peace. Welcome to the DBS podcast. It's your boy Sergio Chacon, aka Blizzy Chacon. That shit whack. I mean, it's always gonna be Dirtbag Shit podcast. The DBS podcast. Peace and welcome to the DBS podcast. It's your boy Sergio Chacon. My very special guest has the #1 album of the year. I don't know if that's true, but that's the title of the album. He's a funny motherfucker. So I will attest that that is very true and honest. He's also toured the country with Cat Williams, my doggy dog. He also got a podcast out about we don't deserve dogs. Please welcome my dog, my dude, Mr. Richard Redding. What up, Daddy-O?
Oh, man, what a breath of fresh air it is to see you, brother. I'm happy, man. Nah, it made my day when you hit me up.
Which, by the way, man, if I listen back to that intro and it sounds real dirtbaggy, I leave it because it's a perfect fit for the Dirtbag podcast.
Hell yeah.
How you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm down in Florida for
are
a
you in
few
Florida?
days. Yeah, we've been riding out the quarantine here. I don't know if you know, I've had some real drama happening during this whole thing, which we can get to later. But the reason that I don't know if you're sharing the video of this, but you haven't pointed out that there's two adorable children sitting behind me on the wall here.
Yes.
It needs explanation. It's creepy as shit.
Yeah, I need the explanation because I was like, maybe he just got like a picture of himself and a brother or a sister, but I was like, nah, dogs, those aren't. That's not him and his siblings.
Yeah, and like I don't have kids, so it's like, wow, that's a big ass mural of some adorable children you got there. No, so we're down at we're at my girlfriend's parents' house down here. We came down here to take care of them the week before Easter because they both fucked around and got COVID. Wow. And we're both on ventilators. Like they were both in seriously critical condition. And spoiler, we got them back and they're okay, but it was really a fucked up journey, dude. God damn, that means you don't get the house in Florida. Not yet. Not yet. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear they're okay, man. That is, oh my God, that is really fucking scary shit. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to make it all intense.
Man, this is the present times, dogs. We're friends. We talk about it all. This doesn't have to be this like, ba, 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 ba. We're talking, we're sharing. It's been a long time.
So first and foremost, I want to say that the Florida, you can't tell head on, but can you see this shit I got right here?
You got the Florida mullet. It looks like you're breeding iguanas illegally. Yo, you look like the way I behave. You look like you got a fucking room full of reptiles. Half of them are venomous.
Who else that got a mullet with a bald spot, son? Get at me. Get at me, dude. I'm ready to throw hands.
What part of the game is this? It's like your makeup, your physical makeup is like contradicting itself. You got the mullet, you got sweet kids behind you, and then you got the wireless earbuds. Like it doesn't mix, Bob.
I know, dude. At one point during quarantine, I shaved my shit into a mohawk. I had the Z's on this. I had a Z. I had the fucking Adidas stripes.
We just get bored, bro.
Yeah.
Because everyone with hair was doing some wild shit with their hair.
Right.
And all I do is make fun of it because I don't have any hair to fuck with. So I was looking at you motherfuckers like, look at this dude. These guys are bored.
Nah, there were some dudes.
But meanwhile, I wish I could do it.
Yeah, some dudes were growing out the Mr. Jefferson and shit. They're like, fuck it, I'm bald in the middle. I'm missing this horseshoe, but this is what it is.
I did it for 2 weeks. And then I had enough of myself.
Yeah.
I just fucking had enough of myself. But it felt good, bro. Like to allow this side hair to grow out, it felt like suede.
Had to be liberating. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like, you ever touched a wallaby shoe? It felt like a wallaby shoe. And not the gummy part. It felt like suede.
Yo, you know what I want to do? I want to put my finger inside a kangaroo pouch. What do you think this shit feels like, dude?
It's like suede.
You think it's suede?
I think it's soft. They carry babies in there, man.
I know. I bet it's like puss sweat.
Oh. Yeah, it's probably smelly.
Oh, there's
You think shit gets stuck in there? Like, yeah, vomit crust and twigs.
Yeah, I bet the little Joey's pooping there too. They don't know shit.
Oh God, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, they leave little pellets behind.
Fuck.
It's gotta feel inappropriate as fuck. You put your fingers in a kangaroo pouch, like you're violating.
Yo, kangaroos are interesting animals, man, because they're brolic too. You ever seen the males? They're like,
some of them are
ripped.
diesel as shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I went to the zoo today, actually. I didn't see any kangaroos.
Nah? Which
No,
zoo?
man. I went to the Bronx Zoo. And let me tell you something, man. I mean, you shared a little bit about the negatives of COVID, and there's a bunch of those, but there's some positives.
Okay.
The positive is that nobody was at the zoo.
Right.
So I was moving around there like it was my zoo.
Right.
It's like, you don't have to be, people are not all over you. Like, it's 6 feet, dogs, new rules. So I like that, man. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm always trying to focus on the positive. Granted, we're dealing with a lot of negative bullshit, but the positive, man, is like, yeah, man, I found parking at the zoo. I was, I jumped on the
curbside.
Yeah, I liked it. I drove over there. I got a Fiat, bro. I'm a tattooed Puerto Rican from the Lower East Side. I'm driving a Fiat, and I made my way to the zoo, and I had a glorious day with the family. But now you made me feel bad because I didn't see any kangaroos. But I guess that's an Australian animal. Those are not going to be popping at the Bronx Zoo.
Yeah. Yo, we had a guy on my podcast. It was funny that we saw him on 60 Minutes. He's a veterinarian talking about working with pandas in China. By the time 60 Minutes was over, by the time his segment was over, we had him booked to do our podcast. And
that's fucking dope.
The biggest problem with pandas is that they have a crazy low birth rate, and it's because they're super not horny, right? But like beyond being not
sounds
horny,
like me. I'm moving around like a panda these days.
Yeah, you're Puerto Rican with only one kid. Get it together.
Yo, and that shit was an accident. I don't know how that happened. I know how it happened. If you really want to get real and raw, I was clamped. You ever been clamped?
Oh yeah,
I was clamped,
yeah. That's why
I was clamped. But anyway, so I have a slow birth rate.
But no, you got all that upper body. You're not working your lower back. That's the problem, man. Look, everybody's worried about how much they can squat, but how much can you pull back off?
Exactly, man. If I was doing some deadlifts, bro, I'd be a single man.
If you ever see dudes just putting plates just on their ass, that's what they're doing.
For real. So they don't get clamped, bro.
Yeah, but so this dude was saying that so pandas are super not horny. Part of it is because they eat for 16 hours a day, right? Because they're bears, but they only eat bamboo, so they get no energy out of eating that shit, right? So they have to eat constantly just to not die. But then even if they put them together, like there's only like a 3% chance that the male would actually find the female attractive. So the zoo in China, the main zoo that they have, they tried panda porn. So they put on like video footage with loud ass speakers when they got them in the cage together of other pandas fucking. Right?
No way.
Yeah, and it'll be like multiple angles, right? So the funniest part of the whole thing is that like, in order to get into the cage with the pandas, because they're so precious there, that you have to be like, a veterinarian, you have to be one of their assigned handlers. So these people went to school for 20 years to become panda pornographers. And like they're getting in tight, dude. Like just showing panda penetration.
That's
right?
hilarious.
And that shit didn't work, right? They tried giving them Viagra. That shit didn't work. So
Wow.
this dude, right? This dude, this guy's from Staten Island, right? And he's like, he's an Asian guy, and Asian guy with a Staten Island accent. You're never expecting that. Right?
No, man, that's as rare. That's just as rare as the panda.
Yeah, right.
That shit's endangered.
Yeah. Like you wait for him to like break out a violin, and he's like, "You see this dog?" Like, ew. Ugh. Horrible accent. So he's there for a couple years, and this motherfucker, him and another guy pitched the idea of like, well, I mean, we could try to manually collect it. So this dude,
now you're pulling panda dicks.
This dude who went to vet school is jerking off a panda in the middle of mainland China, and that didn't work. Couldn't get this fucking panda to bust a nut.
But how arrogant are pandas that they're like, oh, we got to make the female seem more appealing. You know, like they all look alike. What the fuck is that?
It's all pheromones.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
It's all scent.
Yeah.
And like, that pussy don't smell right.
Right. If it smells like a kangaroo pouch, I can't fuck with it.
Yeah. Dude, there's no way that smells good.
You think the panda's moving around there like that? Nah, your shit smell like a kangaroo pouch, man. Clean yourself up.
Yo, you think dude kangaroos with them little ants arms are going up to like other kangaroos like, smell my hoof, dog? Some ninth grade kangaroos.
Fuck, man. Kangaroo, I didn't realize pandas are dirtbags like that, man.
Yeah.
You think also maybe their libido's low because they're in such high altitude, like they just can't breathe? They're just like that air's thin, no? They're just lazy. It's the bamboo.
It's the bamboo, and it's that, there used to be hundreds of thousands of them, and now there's only like 5,000 left.
Yeah.
So it was like they're like mad picky about like what it has to smell like and shit. And there used to be hundreds of thousands to choose from, but now there's only 5,000 of them.
Now, what's the reason for them being endangered? Were people hunting them?
I don't know if it's hunting as much as just like deforestation.
Oh yeah.
Just losing their habitat,
Yeah.
But yo, between us, would you hunt a panda?
What?
Would you hunt a panda?
Would I hunt a panda?
Dirtbag shit on earth. Yo, Donnie Trump standing next to a lion that he just shot has nothing on Sergio on fucking Instagram.
I don't get down like that, but that shit offends me, bro. I don't like that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'll eat pigskin, what Puerto Ricans call pernil. I'll chew that shit like tobacco, like. But I can't go hunting just for trophy reasons.
Could you imagine the social media blowback of some dude with a gun standing on top of a panda?
A panda. That beautiful beast.
China would legit send assassins.
Yeah,
that's your
sure.
ass. There's ninjas on you, son.
Yeah.
Done.
So the thing is, with those trophy hunters, the backing behind is like, oh, if we allow rich motherfuckers from North America, whatever, to hunt in our little village, a lot of that money goes into the village. That's how they make it seem positive. Like, we'll let you kill one of our elephants, but you got to give us $100,000. So they're making it seem like it's a stream of income coming to these villages. I'm like, these fucking guys are assholes, man. Who does that shit?
Nobody should ever be able to kill one. I do believe in hunting for
but not a
like
majestic beast,
shit.
not like an elephant or a cheetah. That's just foul.
I'm with you on that. Yeah,
right.
That's the worst. But I don't think the old lady's around. Since I've been down in Florida, I got me a gun, and it's fucking sweet, dude.
Yo, all my friends that moved to Florida got mad pistols for no reason.
Buddy, I didn't even need a permit. I just walked in, showed them the profile. They saw that shit. They saw the good Lord's favor. That's what I call that. That's the good Lord's favor right there.
Yo.
They saw that I could feather it, and they're like,
You bought that. You bought a gun with spot pay from New York Comedy Club. This fucking like 2 months worth.
I bought that shit with pandemic unemployment assistance.
Do you have a car? Do you have a? I wish we could get the unemployment card. I like the card.
Yeah. So this is the shit.
I hate signing it. Like I hate the fact that you gotta call. I gotta call every week.
I do too.
I know. I used to be able to go on the computer. Now I gotta call, and like that shit is shaky. Like if I press the wrong number, I won't get it that week.
I always think I'm gonna hit one saying that I was available for work. This where I wasn't available. Like, no.
Right.
But I forwarded all our mail down here it was like the first week of April, right? I forwarded it from New York to here. Not one piece of mail ever showed up. And it included, and like, it didn't go to my house. It didn't go to my apartment. It didn't come here. And it included the unemployment card. And even though I tried to get that shit like put on my direct deposit, they insist on sending the card. That thing never showed up. Yeah. And there was also in my mail was I renewed my passport, and that also never showed up. So, and the post office said that they can't find it. So
now you're just living in the Everglades, fucking collecting unemployment with a fucking shoddy cell phone.
Yo, dude, I couldn't get through until it was literally last week that shit finally came. And I had to call a state representative because, you can't get through to anybody. And I finally called. Shout out Linda B. Rosenthal, state representative. I called her, and 3 days later, they had that shit on the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you like Florida? Florida has a special place in my heart. I love Florida. My father used to live in Tampa. I mean, I think that's the reason why I have such a strong connection to animals, because he had goats, he had roosters, he had turtles. So it's like, I love goats? Florida. What was that?
Yeah, he had goats. I want to. Well, I mean, dude, I would live. My parents live down here now. They moved last year, and her parents are here like 6 months out of the year. I would live somewhere near Miami if I could. Like, like if I was a headliner and I was moving tickets on the weekends, I could still get up a few times a week and stay kind of sharp. If I lived around here, but. Yeah. You know what it is. It's like until we can put asses in seats, we're just fucked. We're just chained to the radiator that is New York City.
Right. Right.
Gunless.
Right.
Like assholes.
Right.
Yo, you got goat? You had goats?
Yeah, he had goats. And check the story out, right? My father had he used to go to auctions and get goats. And I don't know, I think he used to have them slaughtered when I would go back to New York and have goat soup. Right? But I remember one time we went to an auction. And I became cool with this goat. Like there was this goat that came up to me and it was acting like a dog. Like it was like sitting next to me and it was very personable. So I was like, I want that goat. And he said, okay, we could get that one. And so when he was loading the goats on the truck, he left that goat behind. And I was like, that's the one I wanted. But I didn't know how to like tell him. Like, so I just started crying. I was like 6 years old. And then he was like, oh, this kid is crying like a faggot. And I was like, I was like, yo, when you can call your kids faggots freely, but I got the goat. You know what I'm saying? I was a faggot, but I had the goat.
Yeah. The 80s were just.
In his eyes, I was
like, dude.
Yeah, it was like the 1980s. He had the Bud can, the Bud Light in between his legs, smoking a Marlboro cigarette with goats in the back of the truck.
Dude,
I was just a little faggot with the goat.
But yo, if you pet it, you can't eat it, man.
Yeah, man. So I think my father used to get these animals and let me chill with them for the summer. And then when I would go back to New York, he would eat my furry siblings.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah. He also introduced me to cockfights. Like he used to take me to cockfights out there. That shit is brutal. They used to put wax on the end of their
razors,
feet.
Right?
Yeah, razors. And I loved it. I probably wouldn't go to one now, but that was like endearing to me, like to be around, that shit, watching cockfights. Like that was so brutal and fun to watch. But now I wouldn't be able to stomach that shit.
Dude, if I showed up to that, all you would hear is Policia. They're not. You can't be white in a cockfight, dude. You gotta be Chinese or Puerto Rican, Dominican.
You know what? With that mullet, you could probably pull it off, man. That's definitely a cockfight here.
But yo, a thing that they don't tell you with the cockfight here, it's hilarious. A thing they don't tell you about goats is that they shit constantly.
Oh yeah, it's
right?
like they shit like rabbits.
Well, and goofy ass goat yoga that girls are paying like $100 to fucking do yoga with baby goats. But it'd be like 3 or 4 baby goats loose in a yoga class. They're constantly shitting on top of them. Like that's the fun of it.
Is that part of like the?
Yeah. So, no, they don't tell you that. But like you're in down dog and a little goat jumps up on you, you're like, oh my God, it's a little goat in pajamas, and ping, 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 ping.
Now, where's this popular at? I never heard of that.
It's a big like Woodstock, New England.
Yo, this is what I'm talking
it's white
about,
on
man.
white crime. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yo, white people in yoga is special, man, because they can't just leave well enough alone. I like yoga, but you know what? It belongs to it's the Indians, right? India.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
It's like now, people have taken yoga and like, let's put some hip hop in yoga. I hate the fact that people do that shit. That shit is worse than the goats and yoga. Like, you cannot listen to 50 Cent's first album and fucking do yoga, but they're doing that. They're doing it.
Puerto Rican yoga, that you just smoke a hookah.
That's Dominican yoga.
That's Dominican. I know.
Give me a loco. Let me get downward dog. Give me a loco.
Yo,
it's just like people just remix everything, man. It's like fuck.
Oh, me and Matt Richards were at
Matt Richards. He's also a big animal lover.
Yeah, it's my dude.
Yeah.
We were having a cigar on this like. It was a gazebo that blew away during Hurricane Sandy. So there was a big ass slab of concrete left, and it's this like perfect view of the city in Jersey City. And right next to us, there was a bunch of Dominican kids at these basketball courts. They were legitimately 10 years old and had a hookah.
Yeah.
And the kid, like the one that got left back a couple times, he's got a fucking do-rag on, he's got chains and shit. He's like, every time one of the other kids wanted to pull, he's like charging them.
No way.
He was basically selling hookah one-hitters at the playground.
That is hilarious. I mean, it's the staple now. Like, if you took like
Dominicans took that shit over.
Yeah, no, they just took that shit over, man. Like, listen, if you like had the typical dirtbag Puerto Rican from New York, like hardcore, like stereotype, that motherfucker is at the Puerto Rican Day Parade, a little flag, a Toyota bumping reggaeton, and a boa constrictor around his neck, charging $5 for a picture with the boa. Dominicans, they got the do-rag pants that are way too tight, and they're walking around with a hookah. It's like if they had little figurines, like G.I. Joe figures, they will have the hookah as their toolbox. It's just the way it is. They love fucking hookah.
But yo, also, nobody takes matching more seriously than Dominicans.
Yeah.
There was a dude at a show in Philly, and it was a Dominican barber, right? And it was a Dominican barber on his birthday. This fucking guy.
That's a big day.
He had on a black shirt, red jeans, one black Jordan, and one red Jordan. But his eyebrows was on point.
It's sharp, right? They look like 2 Nike checks. Gank. 2 Nike swooshes. Yo, you know what's funny? When you had mentioned that young kid was charging people for the hookah hit, I remember getting high one time, and it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I just ended up in some dude's apartment, around here in the East Village. It was my boy. We used to call him Rhino, and he was charging $5 for a bumper blow. $5 for just a bump, like a key bump, and we were all like in line in a studio apartment, like, and that was it. And it was like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Dude.
He was being more stingy with it.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm smoking it.
Yeah. Might as well just lick a cigarette and roll it up and just fucking.
Yeah, one of the last times I remember doing blow, I wound up like, up all night and in some weirdo's house, and they only had a little bit of blow left.
Oh, it's the worst.
And bought it off of them, and I literally put it in a bong. It's just like, here we go, see what happens.
I mean, listen, man. That's what when you're getting down like that, and you know the deal, like that a little fucking bump is like you just fucking lick it up, roll in the cigarette. That's gonna last you 6 more minutes.
Ugh.
But I commend you, man, because you talk about your sobriety, you're open about it, and I like the fact that you talk about your stand-up. I always appreciated that. And you're 12 years sober. You're 12 years sober, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, you say in your stand-up that it was blackout drunk that really got. Is that the reason? Like you were blackout, and then you wouldn't remember days at a time, and that's what it was like.
No, I mean it was really it came down to blackout drinking, but like it was there's an old like rehab joke is like, what's your drug of choice? What do you got?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, I always did a little too much. From the first time I ever drank, I had a feeling of like, I'm going to have to stop this at some point. I love this too much.
Right.
And it was like, I drank whenever I could. I smoked weed whenever I could, but it wasn't really a problem. And then like, coke came into the picture, and when I started doing comedy, I became friends with this dude that was becoming a drug dealer, and his career took off way faster than mine did. Let's just say, and and I was kind of like, it was just like I was the guy on the couch, and the money problem was solved because he would sell me everything it cost. So like, I would get $100 worth, and he would give me 5 40 bags for $20, and I would go to the bar. I would do 2 of them, sell 3 of them, and now I've also got money to cover that, and I got money to buy some drinks, But I was like, I was just that guy at the bar, but also committing a felony. At
Just
like
committing
24
crimes.
years old.
Just committing crimes 4 times a week.
Yeah, skinny ass white kid, like yeah, no problem. Felonies. And like, the first 5 years I was doing comedy is just like one toe in the pool, and I was all fucked up most of the time that I was trying to do it and shit.
Was that mostly in Philly, or were you in Jersey or New York?
Almost strictly in Philly. Like every once in a while I would get opportunities to go somewhere else, but it was like, I was funny, but I just wasn't putting in the work. I was getting all resentful that like, dudes that I was in my head funnier than were getting stuff that I wasn't. And I kept using more and more. And it got to the point that there was one incident. I tried to leave Philly to get away from this whole group of friends, because I had this like, I did a no call, no show on Father's Day. Right. And my dad's always been amazing for me. And I was too fucked up. I just couldn't make it. And I rolled for like 3 or 4 days straight. And when I came out of it, you know how you're depressed as shit after you roll one day? It was like an E-bender. And I had to like limp my ass home. And basically I got off the train, and my dad picked me up, and it was like an after school special moment. And it's like no music on. He looked me right in the eyes, and he was like, "Do you have a drug problem?" And I was like, "Yes." God. And he's like, "Me and Mom want you to move home." And I was like, "All right." So I did that. But there's also a saying of everywhere I go, there I am. And so I took me with me, and I didn't have like constant access to shit, but it was like, instead of partying 6 or 7 days a week, instead I was going out on the weekends, and it was just like, it was nuts, just shooting the lights out. And the whole thing culminated like drug use wise that I had a bunch of people over at my parents' house, it was down on this river in South Jersey. It was this really cool spot. And unbeknownst to them, everybody there was some kind of drug dealer, right? So like everybody had shit on them.
And it's crazy,
and
right? When you're in the midst of that, like you could spot it anywhere.
oh yeah,
You could be at a fucking 2-year-old's party and you know to fucking
yeah,
find the fucking guy who has a little
right,
bit of coke left over from 2 nights
yeah,
ago. It's
absolutely,
crazy. I
yeah.
always
That's
say,
that's
I
why,
said like I'm like a blowhound. I'm like, I know where that shit
yeah,
is at. Like
yeah,
I used to look at the bathroom, see who used to go to the bathroom like every 15 minutes or something. Like, oh, I'm gonna go in
right,
the bathroom when they go in there. Like I know how to
yeah.
time it,
And
start a
that guy must be
conversation.
on Flomax. He's
Yeah.
really peeing a lot. Hydrated fella.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah. So at this party, I had a bunch of people over, and it was just normal drinking and smoking during the day, and there was like we took some downers to take a nap, and then at like 9 o'clock at night woke up and took some fucking amphetamines to start the party back up, and then I took like 6 or 7 hits of ecstasy, and
God
then
damn.
yeah, and everybody else was doing that, and then to ramp it up further, I ate like half an eighth of mushrooms, and uh, which hippie flipping unto itself is a great combination, but if you got amphetamines on board and a whole lot of it's just like it's way too much. So faced, and I was on a kayak at 4 a.m. playing with half sticks of dynamite, and I I threw this half stick of dynamite, and boom, I just got stuck in the matrix, right? And like all I could talk about was the laws of motion. And before this day, literally, I never talked about the laws of motion once in my life. But I had this epiphany how I could coach any sport in any, like all athletics, strictly by the way of laws of motion, right? And I could see, I was having this like intense Technicolor infinity symbol rolling around in my head every time I blinked. But it was like, it was always there moving. But when I blinked, I really saw it. And so I just tried not to blink. And this shit lasted for like a month and a half, Serge.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And like like the whole thing with tripping or any kind of drugs, like it's going to end. But after the first 2 weeks, I thought it was like, basically that I got touched by God himself and that this was a spiritual experience. And then the last month, it was like, yo, when is this shit going? Like, this is just me now. I'm just the guy that
Yeah,
talks
I
about
mean,
the
and
laws
that
of motion
happens
all
to
the
people,
time.
right? It's like permanent brain
Yeah,
damage.
right. So this is crazy, but I wound up, I was very scared. I mean, there was stuff that happened that it was like, I got in a car accident and I rear-ended some lady because I was just thinking about the laws of motion, and I knocked her bumper off, and I got
How
out of
long ago? How long? This is all like within. How
this
long
was like,
after the kayak did you jump in the car?
I don't know. The time is real murky, but it was
Like
within
two
a few
weeks
weeks
later,
after.
something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And I knock her bumper off, and I get out wild-eyed, and I proceed to explain to her how there was a transfer of potential energy into kinetic energy, which created downward directional force, which was met by the Earth's resistance. And this lady's like, she's just like, okay, thank you. And I was so fucking googly that she put her bumper in the back seat. She put that shit sticking out the window and drove off.
I can just see her like driving away, looking at you in the rear view mirror, and you're just like still talking about the laws of motion. Like,
Yeah. I want to give you a lecture. I've
oh.
only begun my seminar.
So there was just a
And
bunch of incidents like that, and this is during
yeah,
the time you were living with your parents too, right? They were trying to help you.
right. So like, I basically, like, for the first time in my life ever, prayed for that to stop, and it did. And like, I made a deal with God type of thing. It was like, please make this stop, and then it stopped, and I was like, Saeed, and so
Psych!
Saeed. So I think I stopped drinking for like a month, and in that month, I like won a comedy contest. It was like my comeback, and I won a comedy contest that sent me to Vegas to do a thing on HBO. And that was my sign, right? That it was like, dude, 1 month of not drinking and doing drugs, you did this shit, right? And then while I'm out in Vegas, that dude Josh gets a knock on the door. Well, in that month, the thing that I saw fit to do was I went and broke up with that whole group of friends.
Yeah.
Right. That I was just like, yo, I can't do this anymore, man. This shit's killing me, And I'll tell you what, they took it very well. Very well. That's like, oh, guy that only talks about the laws of motion every time we see him now. You don't want to do this anymore? Okay. Okie dokie.
Right.
Right. So, but I'm out in Vegas, and when I get back, I get a call from Josh's girlfriend, and she's like, have you gotten a call? Has Josh contacted you at all? I was like, no. She's like, don't take his calls. I was like, why? She's like, DEA came through. Like, whoa. So he got a knock on the door, and it was the fucking DEA, and he got caught with it was 10 pounds of weed, a kilo of blow, a few hundred pills, and all his cash.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And what was fucked up was that if I didn't, so it's like, even though this horrible shit happened, and it was like I lost my sanity for a while and all that, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have broken up with them as friends, and I would have been on that couch.
Yeah.
I 100% would have been on the couch. So there's basically another month that I didn't have access to drugs, and I just drank, and it was I forgot how fucked up you can get from just drinking, and that period was when it was blackout drinking every single time. So I blacked out 20 times in 30 days or something like that.
Yeah, because I think when you're using this stuff, when you're functional, somewhat functional, it's the concoction of how many beers, drinks, blow you got to do to sustain. And then if you abstain from one thing, it's you're just drinking, you go hard, man. You're fucking falling asleep anywhere. And shit.
Yeah, I forgot. I literally forgot you could get real fucked up just drinking,
Yeah.
But
I mean, and when you try to kick drinking, I've heard stories where if you try to just quit drinking cold turkey when you're going hard like that, it's worse than kicking heroin. I mean, it's just as bad. It's you see shit, you hallucinate. I mean, your body goes through fucking trauma.
Yeah, I had some shakes and stuff. I was sweaty and stuff like that. I didn't have it bad. I mean, I know people that have gone through real DTs and delirium tremens, and that's satanic hallucinations. You're seeing demons and shit. Yeah, the only two things that you can actually die from withdrawal is alcohol and benzos, like Xanax and shit.
Yeah. Wow. So was it did you go to a program, or was it or I know we're not supposed to talk about certain programs or whatever, but
let's just say group therapy.
Yeah. So you went to group therapy, and that was the outline and gave you the structure needed to move forward.
Yeah. And I actually, it was I actually liked it, which I was very surprised by. Yeah. But I was kind of lucky that I also had I had the flip side, it's the man in the mirror of where things could have gone was this dude is still in jail awaiting sentencing and shit. And it's that was a real fucking wake up call of that I would have been in that shit 100%. So it was that's kind of a God shot, but it was honestly, it was the reason that the thing that kept me sober at first. So I didn't plan to quit drinking. I wanted to stop drinking for 5 days, right? Because I woke up and it's the old sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I woke up at my ex-girlfriend's house, and I had drove there from too far away, and there's I couldn't find my car. Her kitchen was all fucked up, and it was my fault, and it's and I was all right, I'm gonna stop for 5 days. And that first night that I tried to stop, it was like, it was loud as shit. I was like, go get a beer, go get a beer, go get a beer, go get a beer. So like, I didn't know I had an obsession until I tried not to, you know? And then in that first 5 days was so hard that, I mean, it was brutal, right? And like, and I realized that I actually had a physical dependence and much more like a mental dependence. So I was like, all right, after 5 days, I was like, I'll give it 30 days. And then after 30 days, I was like, I'll give it 60 days. And then at the 89-day mark, I managed to actually go back and finish college, which had been outstanding for 8 years.
Wow.
So, and then it was like, you know, if you believe in God or if you believe in signs or whatever it is, it's like, all right, so in 89 days, you managed to accomplish something that you haven't been able to do in 12 years. Here's your sign, dude. You know, so it was like, all right, I'll give it 6 months. And then finally, like, I made it to the year mark, and it was just like, I think I quit drinking.
Yeah. And that was it. And then it was like, you had a stretch till now, present time. Were there bumps in the road?
Knock wood. There's times when, no, I mean, like, I've stayed, this is all like continuous time, you know, which, like, I don't want to jinx it or anything, but yeah, I mean, there's been times where I was like really feeling raw and feeling vulnerable and shit like that. But like, you know, relationships is the hardest thing. It's like, you know, so money and pussy. Money and pussy, if you want to put it in the most pure dirtbag terms, money and pussy is what takes you out. You know, and it's because they say it's resentments, right? That it's like that you just like, you drink at something, right? Or you use at something because you can't slow your mind down because you keep thinking. Like, resent actually means refeel. So you keep refeeling. But if it's a dude, they're refeeling money and pussy. That's all. It's what you know. And it's like, you get a chance to work on yourself and shit, because like, you know, and I like groups of dudes, and like, I feel like this turned really real for a podcast, but like, I'm drawn to groups of guys that are talking about real shit. You know, like I there's this Harley dude, George, and he was like, you know, I was so fucking afraid and I was full of fear. And you look at this dude and you're like, yo, this guy can rip somebody apart with bare hands. And he's talking about fear. And it's like, that's some shit that, you know, I don't know any culture of dudes that they talk about what they're afraid of, you know?
Right.
And it's like, you know, and they like got real savvy on it. And it's like the things you're afraid of, you're either afraid of losing something that you have or not getting what you want.
Right.
And that is also probably about money or pussy, you know? Right. So it's like, when you realize that those are like the triggers that are just pre-installed in you, then you learn how to, like, you know, maneuver through the fear, like, you know, instead of going around it.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
I feel like I just turned into a preacher. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, this is interesting stuff. And when you say that, it makes me think about things that I didn't want to come to grips with, or I didn't even realize. Like, I remember when I first got sober, like, I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how, if I was gonna be able to be intimate. You know, because I was always drinking. You know, like, or especially, you know, like,
how long you been sober, man?
Well, it's been 6-7 years. I don't count. It's like 6 or 7 years.
That's great.
That's
great.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and,
dude, I
remember thinking, like, I felt like a little inadequate, you know. But it always came back to, like, and we talk about what we do, stand up or whatever, you know. There was certain nights I would have drinks, and the perfect concoction made me feel super loose, you know, like in there, like loose and funny and just fucking confident. And then when I put that shit to the side, I remember I had like weekends where I felt mad tight, like good weekends. But you know, my boy, you know, with our boy Giannis, you know, you know, he has sold out shows. He's throwing me a bone. He's like, yo, like, you crack it open, and I just felt mad tight, like
Right.
You know, and it was probably fine, but I held myself like a certain regards. I was like, oh, I'm better than this. But I just felt like that was more important. I felt like doing this is more important. But it was like I had to deal with all that. I had to feel all that shit. You know, I had to.
That's what it
and
is that
you gotta feel it. You gotta feel it. Because 2 months prior to that, it was the same type of show, but I was doing this and it was like I was loose. I thought it was, you know.
Yeah. Well, and also like that, like I'm loose, I'm perfect right now. That's for the first show, but you got 2, maybe 3. You know, you got another.
Yeah. Inevitably, always.
And you
Yeah,
can't
by the 12:30 show, you know,
right
then
there.
I overstayed my welcome at the club. I'm like, you know, it's not sustainable.
And you think nobody knows? Everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Man. I can't tell you how many shows that I've been on, like, you know, some pretty big shootout type of shows where somebody that, you know, I know when they turn it on, like they're a fucking hammer, and like, you know, you see them slipping.
Yeah.
You know, and we're talking about names. Like, I mean, professional fucking real ass big name comics that I've seen, you know, just having fun in the green room, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And people get pissed. I didn't pay to see this drunk motherfucker. You know?
No, it's true. It's true. Yeah, we see it time and time again. And the fact of the matter is, there's nothing like being sober. There's nothing like feeling it all, being present, and doing your job like a fucking professional, because you wouldn't drink at any other job. So you definitely should be drinking, doing stand up, like, you know, like on that, you know, I think get away with it because, you know, but like it's inevitable that it catches up. I don't know anybody, I really don't. Very few comics who get fucked up who are killing it. Like guys who are really doing well, they're sober. You know what I'm saying? Or they got like
there's guys that can like smoke a little weed, drink a couple beers, and kill on stage, but you don't see somebody the fuck drunk.
Right. That's what I mean. Like you don't get anyone with a fucking problem doing that shit. And if they are able to, like, they're not growing. You know, they kind of hit a wall. You know.
I know. Like I
like there's guys who I fucking love, but the fact of the matter is, it's 20 years later and it's the same shit, and they're great, but it's the same because they're no longer working on that. What was that?
I think we're both talking about the same thing.
Yeah. So that's scary, man. And it's like, it stagnates your growth, both emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
Yeah,
you know?
but like,
I find motivation in knowing that whenever I get that itch or that temptation, that I hold that pain close to my heart, that fear of like regressing, you know. And there's so many other things that I'm enjoy now. Like I've always been into the boxing. I've always loved animals, but I neglected immersing myself and exploring those worlds. I would like kind of dip and dab, but I was, you know, if you're getting fucked up, whatever, 3-4 times a week, you know, whatever. There's recovery time to that. There's money being spent. It becomes like a fucking part-time job or full-time job. You know, you count up the hours of recovery. Let's say you go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, wake up at 10, and then you like dilly-dallying to like 12. You accumulate those hours like 40 hours a week.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy if you look at it like that. You know?
Man.
Do you find like doing stand-up comedy, do you find it hard? But you probably don't anymore. You probably got such a rhythm, and the results have been so positive that you don't feel that anymore.
I had my first show. It was actually the first time I was on the line to do 45 minutes. Was when I was 5 days sober.
Wow.
And like, you know, I got a chance to do the shit that I never did before, which is like lay out a set list, you know, make sure, like, see the points, see how I'm going to connect everything, what my segues are. And I wound up throwing out half of it because I was so present and just with the crowd. And it was like, they were all drunk and I felt like they were moving in slow motion. I was just slipping in and out, you know, just finding angles on these bitches, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, like, I had the concept of myself that I was going to be this guy that like partied his way to the top, you know, and it's like my heroes were, it was like, you know, Eric Clapton wrote Crossroads on heroin.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah.
But it's like,
I adopted the same ideology. I remember being in like bathrooms and maybe feeling, you know, down but up at the same time, telling myself, "Oh yeah, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna be known as that dude who gets fucked up." But you know, I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna be that gritty comic. I remember trying to adopt that persona. You know, and also like watching like a guy like Doug Stanhope and be like, yeah, that's gonna be me. I'm gonna be, you know, with the drink, and I'm gonna, you know, anytime I can.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I got booed off stage because I was drinking Boone's Farm. You know, like, dude, you're not writing Crossroads on heroin, bro.
Right.
And also, I think more people have died trying to be Keith Richards. That like, you know, it's like it's the one heroin success story in the entire world. Like, no, you're not going to be that dude, man. You're going to be Lil Peep, motherfucker.
Right. Right. Lil Peep died at the age of 12, right? That motherfucker was young.
Yeah. Yo, I looked up Lil Peep the other day, and the first question that comes up on Google is what Lil Peep die on, right? And you click on it, and it says, I forget what the exact date is, but it says November 15th, 2017. Like, I don't think that's what they meant when they asked what he died on.
Right.
Unless that's the name of like some new opiate.
Right. That's hilarious.
November 17th, 2015, motherfucker.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
yeah, no.
Well, I'm so happy that you're sober, dude. That's great.
Yeah. I am too, man. And it feels good. I feel good, strong, and you know, and love with all of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. You know, there is a thing that was brought to my attention one time. I never heard this phrase before, but like a dry drunk or something like that. Like someone who, you know, wills themselves to not doing drinks or drugs anymore, but they haven't fixed the problem. You know what I'm saying? They haven't, you know, they didn't go to the therapy, however that may be. And it doesn't have to be, I mean, I think if you go to a therapist, that's great, you know, whatever it takes, but you gotta start uncovering why you had that pattern, why you were so self-destructive. There's a lot of people who don't do that. So now they're like,
you're miserable.
They're miserable, man. But they will themselves into staying sober, but they're probably better off drinking because they're just like this negative energy. They're combative, you know, they're snarky, you know, and that's whack. Like energy like that.
There's some comics that are dry drunks that I cannot stand being in the same room with.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I feel like
like everything's got to be a zip, you know, a zing, fucking cutting.
Yeah. It's weird, man.
And that's the thing is that I never, you know, would have thought is that, like, you know, there's dudes that I've met during the quarantine on Zoom doing group therapy type of shit that it's like, I know these dudes better than anybody I fucking grew up with, you know?
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
You know, so Liz, my wife asked me, she said, who are you interviewing today? I was like, my boy Richie Reddy. Remember we saw him on the Cat Williams tour when they stopped by the Barclays Center. I said, oh yeah.
Oh,
he was mad funny. Yeah. So I wanted to, she was with me at that show. And it was a surprise to me that I'm at the Barclays Center. I get some tickets to see Cat Williams. And who the fuck is there? My boy Richard Reddy. And you ripped that night.
Nice.
How long were you on tour with Cat?
3 years. I did like 150 shows with him, I think.
Wow. Was that, would you say that was like a highlight right now? Like that's definitely a standout? Or was it, you know, doing your album? Or collectively have their own powers and own feelings of accomplishment?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the difference between doing an arena versus a club is like, you know, I'm probably not hitting my knees and praying before I do a fucking club spot, but like when there's 15,
I mean, those fucking shows at an arena, knowing that you're working with that dude must have been fucking nerve-wracking. Like, you must have been like, you must have been like, yo, God, just give me these first couple. Like, let me get, that's the way you feel about the first big one. Then you can kind of play later down, in the week. But those first three.
Well, in the first year that I was on tour, I had to I had to earn every show because it was like
there's probably dudes online waiting for that spot.
Oh hell yeah! There was people booked. The whole tour was booked, and I got in on like the third or fourth show of the tour of this like 40-city tour, and every show I got meant they had to call somebody and tell them you ain't coming.
Why would they do that? Why would they conduct business like that? That's crazy.
Yo,
that's so. Dude, that's hard, yo. I mean, he has some good. Yo, let me. I'm a fan of Cat Williams. Like I became a fan of Pimp Chronicles when he had the green suede, and Atlanta. That was my, So I followed him, and I went. That was like my fourth one that I've been to. I bought tickets. Like, a lot of times comics we don't buy tickets. Louis C.K. You could go to comics and go through the side door. Like we'll see the guys we like that. But I would buy tickets. I would, this is a date night, And I saw him, and he had, what's her name?
Ashima?
She's a black comic, a little bit, short hair, starts with an L.
No.
Yeah, she was on the show, Red Grant. They're beasts. They opened up for him. This is like 10 years ago, though. But I remember he always had like solid opens. Like, it was a fucking show.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, it was the last tour I did.
Red Grant.
The last tour I did, it was Red, me, Zoo-Man, and Mark Curry.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fantastic show.
Yeah, it's like an hour 20 before he goes on, and then he goes out and does an hour 20.
Yeah,
it's nuts. And it starts an hour late.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you had told me, or maybe I read a post, that he didn't show up to one show for whatever reason, and you had to close out the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, so it was.
How did that go down?
All right, I'll tell you this, and then I gotta wrap it up because I gotta go watch 90 Day Fiance with my girl. So.
That's some dirtbag shit. You owe me a half hour. You showed up a half hour late. You tell her to DVR.
No, I showed up 15 minutes late, and then I had to give you a 10-minute long lesson on how to properly record with Zoom.
That is true. That is true.
You're welcome. So this was the second year that it was. So this is funny in itself. So I had seen Cat in like October, right? Like there was no contact in between the first tour, and in October I was in LA, gave him a call, and he was like right down the street from the Comedy Store. He's in some penthouse and shit, right? That's him, and there's always like 5 girls that like you never talk to that are in the bedroom doing God knows, like I don't know. There's just these hoes are here, right? And I was like, yo, Cat, man, I saw you're going to be, I was like, I'm from Atlantic City and I live right next to Brooklyn. So, if I could do those shows right after New Year's, that'd be great, man. And I was like, and it's my birthday tomorrow, so it'd be a birthday present. He's like, well, I have no other recourse other than to say, yes, Richie Redding. I was like, all right, bet. So that's coming around and I'm not getting any contact from the, from his camp, right? I'm like, oh fuck, man. So, but I'm friends with his security at this point. And I was like, yo, remind Cat that I'm on these shows. And the dude did me a solid because he had this whole other lineup at this point, right? He does me a solid, and he's like, hey, you told Richie he was on these shows, so I need a badge for him. And he's like, oh, like, he had this moment, like he said, he was like, he saw it was like he clearly forgot about it.
It's hilarious.
And so so I go, and we're supposed to have some meeting the day of the Brooklyn show. I think you saw the second Brooklyn show, which wasn't that great. The first one was amazing, but
I don't know, man. It was a great show, but I get how you feel. We all feel like
thanks.
that, you know. The first one this way,
right? So it's like, you know, Kat wants to have a meeting, be there at 10 in the morning, and I get that. I'm like, what? Kat, he's not up at 10 in the fucking morning. So we basically just wait for like 2 hours, and then finally they come out and like, yeah, Kat can't make it, but he wants you guys to decide what the lineup is going to be. And I don't know any of these people, right? And I'm like, okay. And well, there's this big fat guy. He was also at that hotel room that I met him at in LA, and he's telling me that he's hosting the shows for this next tour. And I was like, and he doesn't know that to me that's my job, right? So I was like, cool, man. How long you been doing comedy? He's like, 4 years. I was like, 4 years? Wow, you're hosting this show. That's amazing. Well, I went to comedy classes, and we discussed at length, you know, the art of hosting a show. Cool,
no way, you're fucking with me.
Yo, I swear to God. And I'm sitting there, I'm smiling at him, and I'm like, I'm going to eat your fucking lunch if they put me on stage with you, pussy, right? So they ask us, you know, it's the four of us, and I don't know any of them. They're like, you know, what do you want the lineup to be? And I was like, I'll go anywhere. I don't care, you know? And then Kat calls me, and he's like, so Richie, I hear that at the meeting you didn't claim a spot on the show. I was like, Kat, I just want to be on, man. I don't give a fuck. Just, you know, put me in wherever you want. He's like, that's very humble of you. Well, I think that we have done our Richie Redding due diligence, and you have earned a 20-minute spot directly before Kat Williams. I was like, oh, so I'm like featuring? He's like, you are featuring. I was like, dude, thank you so much. He's like, I know you won't let me down. Click. So
yeah, that's hilarious.
So this night, the host goes out. He gets 4 out of 10 response, right? And well, so they switched the host because that fat guy was fucking up. So they switched him out. So now they say that he's before me, right? So the host goes out, there's a 4 out of 10. This girl goes on, does a 5 out of 10. Dude, fat boy goes out. At best, he's sitting on a 2 out of 10, right? Like, I can't believe he didn't get booed. I can't fucking believe it.
Oh, shit.
So, like, Brooklyn was just nice for some reason. They're just sitting back on him. And I went out and had, at that time, the best show of my life.
Wow.
Right? It was like, it hit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my God, you know, it's a relief more than anything. Like, because it wasn't just a good show. I also turned this thing around. So the next day I have to, because I'm not on the tour yet, I have to drive down to it.
But so Kat showed up that night.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah.
So Nathan McIntosh actually rides down with me to AC. And so what I
shout out to Nate McIntosh, hilarious.
Hammer. So so unbeknownst to me at this point, there's a conversation. The security guard tells me this, that, you know, the fat guy took a horrible L, right? And he goes to Kat the next day. He's like, Kat, I was thinking about it, and I think my intro needs to be bigger. And I'm thinking that I need to get 3, maybe 4 girls to walk in, you know, walk me onto the stage. And who do you think is going to be paying for these bitches? Well, I mean, if the tour could, if you don't get the fuck out of my right? So the next show, because me and Nathan drive down, we get, so, you know, Atlantic City's not set up for a whole bunch of traffic, right? And it's 12,000 people all descend on the convention center. And from like a mile back, the shit is backed up. And by the time and it's tense, you can just feel like people are mugging, you know, like just fucking honking the shit out of each other. And I was like, dude, it's tight, man. Like people are pissed off.
Yeah.
And I always went for a walk around, the arena before the show started. And I go back to Nathan, and I was like, yo, somebody's want to catch it tonight. Like this vibe is bad in here, dude. So the host goes up, he catches a 2 out of 10, but they're okay. They're just not fucking with him yet, right? And then they move the fat dude up even closer now. They moved him to the first spot. And I'm sitting there, I'm next to him, right? And he says his name, and we're 50 feet away from the steps to go up to the stage. He says his name, and I was like, dude, you better go. He's like, but wait for it. And he's got this like 2-minute long song that he had the song play before he goes up onto the stage. At which point people
supreme dirtbag move.
Yo, I mean, it was like you have to be Evander Holyfield to play music for that long before you come out. You know what I mean? Like you have to be the dude. So he's just sitting there talking to me and Nathan, and me and Nathan are like, dude, get the fuck up there, man. Right? So he finally goes out. He's 30 seconds into his set and somebody boos. 45 seconds in, 2,000 people boo.
Fuck.
And then they all laugh at that, right? And he just keeps fucking going. He keeps going and going and going, and he's just talking about bacon the whole time. And then he made it to like the 3,000 mark, and literally 12,000 people at the same time booed this motherfucker. Right?
Fuck, man.
So the girl who's on the tour, she turns to me and she's like, they're booing. They're actually booing? I didn't know people actually boo. I was like, hey, didn't they see, bitch? We go hard. Right? So she goes up and she is on the verge. She did okay. She was supposed to do like 15 minutes. She probably did like 8 minutes. Yeah. She comes off stage. The second she comes off, she fucking collapses into tears and has like a sobbing fit. Right? I'm sitting there with Nathan. I'm like, this is great. This is just great. Because I came up in Philly, you know. I was like, I know if somebody else gets booed, all I have to do is not fall off stage.
Right.
Yeah, right. So I went up and like had a really, because the first thing I did was I went up, I Bernie Mac'd them, and literally the first thing I said was, I ain't afraid of you motherfuckers. And just boom, just like got them. And I did a bunch of local references, just fucked around and like actually had fun, and it was great. But here's the craziest part of the whole thing was that the fat dude, and when I tell you this dude is fat, I mean 500 pounds.
Fat and arrogant.
Yeah, I mean, like he had a hump on the back of his neck that was good for 25. So like
he had the kangaroo pouch in the back with a kangaroo that never descended. Fuck, man.
I just want to touch it. So I'm sitting there and like, I'm glowing at this point, and it's like, yo, I'm back on this fucking tour, man. I know I just fought my way back into at least being on the next weekend, and this dude comes up.
So it definitely had that sentiment, right? Like you had to play hard. I would imagine, and that's why I asked you. I was like, it does it feel like that sort of accomplishment? Because this is not a type of thing. Like even though Kat liked you and you guys are boys, or it's just a different all-around energy. Like you earned that spot. I know how that shit is. So it's like that's why I asked earlier. I was like, is that one of those things that you felt like you really fucking earned? Because it's almost like balling. You gotta ball hard every night. You can't mail shit in. You gotta like really.
Yeah, you're literally on a nightly contract.
Yeah, that's the way those things feel to look and feel to me.
Yeah, and to stay on for 150 was fucking crazy,
Yeah,
but so I just want to say this one last thing, and I know I didn't tell you the Atlanta story, but we'll do another episode sometime.
Yeah.
But so I'm sitting there with Nathan, and I was like, "Yo, I just ripped that bitch, right?" He's like, "You ripped this." It's like yo, be cool. Like we're fucking. It's like you don't want to gloat in front of everybody. It's like I just smoked this thing.
Right.
And Fat Boy comes up to me and he says, "I'm embarrassed that I went back to my dressing room and I took a nap after my set. How did your set go?" And me and Nathan look at each other. I'm like, "You fell asleep? You just took the L of your fucking lifetime and you went night-night?"
Yeah, that's wild.
Like,
that's not normal.
Yo, you're not supposed to sleep for the rest of the month. You should, like, every time you close your eyes, it should be like when I was hallucinating. There should just be a Technicolor boo.
He's a sociopath. That's what you call him.
There should be 12,000 black people booing you every time you close your eyes. This motherfucker went night-night.
Fuck.
Is that crazy as shit, dude?
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, it's real crazy.
Fucking nuts, man. That is fucking nuts. Who does that?
I can't tell you how many times I thought about that. It was like, is there a health condition? Like,
possibly, or maybe it was just bullshit. Maybe he just said that he heard you kill, and then he's like, "Oh, how was your set?"
He very specifically said, "I fell asleep." Like,
I don't know if I believe that, God. I don't know.
Did the hump just need to recharge? Maybe that hump in his neck just needs at least 20 minutes of horizontal time.
He's just chilling. That shit is pulling him back. That shit's like a magnet to pillows.
He's got his own plain pillow.
Richie, man, I know you got to go, brother. I appreciate your time. Let's do this again.
Oh, dude.
You're the man.
I can talk shit with you any day, man. This was so nice. I really appreciate it, man. And you're a guy that I respect very much. I love watching you do your craft. And
likewise,
I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you,
bro.
man.
Can't wait to see you back on stage.
And it's dogs we don't deserve, right? Oh, no, we don't deserve dogs. That's the podcast.
Yeah, you got it eventually. That's the one. And,
we don't deserve dogs. And the number one album of the year, which, by the way, real quick, that album cover is Supreme Dirtbag shit.
Yo, you can't tell me. So, okay. So anybody listening to this, if you want to look me up, it's at Richie Redding, right? Oh, but can you still see me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got a little battery warning. It's at Richie Redding, but my album is called #1 Album of the Year. And if I don't have the greatest album cover of 2020, you can kiss my whole ass. All right?
Plus the hole. Kiss my whole ass plus the hole. All right, Richie, man, stay up, homie. I appreciate you. Much love, man. Stay up.
You're the best, dude. See ya.
All right, peace, man.
Puerto Rican kid, bald head, loves snakes, loves Blizzy, Sergio Chacon.
Yeah. What up, Pa? Peace. Welcome to the DBS podcast. It's your boy Sergio Chacon, aka Blizzy Chacon. That shit whack. That means always gonna be Dirtbag Shit podcast. The DBS podcast.